Hey guys, this video is going to be an interesting one. And right now we're going to talk about the dirty secrets of artificial intelligence in short-term rentals and property management. And I wanted to talk about, number one, some of the misconceptions that exist around what AI can and cannot do within the context of an Airbnb or a short-term rental. And also talk about some of the more powerful ways that operators can use things like artificial intelligence and guest technologies to really improve their business as opposed to solving a problem that cannot be solved. So we are an AI company that, amongst other things, does some AI chat, but we also do quite a lot of other things to do with AI, like analytics and content management and things like that. And very often we talk to customers who have this expectation or this question like, hey, can AI replace all my agents? Or can AI handle a significant part of my business for me, like managing reservations and updating things in the property management system and updating room availabilities and invoicing guests and things like that? And the answer is, for a lot of these things that people assume AI should be able to do, it just can't. And it's not just isolated to the industry of short-term rentals and hospitality. If you look at some of the biggest companies in the world, like Salesforce and HubSpot and these massive multinational, multi-hundred billion dollar companies, they haven't been able to crack agentic AI to do these types of real world things. So the dirty little secret is that AI is great at a lot of things, but it's really just never going to be at that point where it can handle business operations for you, handle guest communications for you end to end, and make changes in the property management system or in the OTA. It's not possible to do that with the technology that exists today. And anybody who says that it is possible is wrong. And the reason why they're wrong is that it's very easy to generate a response, and it's very easy to put together text that looks interesting, but it's very hard to do it reliably 100% of the time, so that every single time an AI generated message goes out, it's accurate, it's reliable, it's actionable, and it doesn't cause an issue for the guest. And number two is that the number of moving parts that exist in any given reservation is really high. You have things like weather, which could impact arrival time, flights. You have lock boxes that are just disconnected from any other system. You have physical lock boxes, digital lock boxes that might not have Wi-Fi. You might have Wi-Fi passwords that were changed 3 weeks ago by a cleaner. So given all of these moving parts, this idea that AI can handle all of that guest communication is just, it's unfortunate, but it's true that it is just impossible. Now, what AI can do and what technology can do is chip away at parts of the hosting experience that are complicated and that are time consuming. So what AI can do is chip away at some of that messaging, like let's say 5-10%, by handling pleasantries like thank you, you're welcome, like how's your day going, good, like it was exciting staying here, things like that. If you use AI in that very limited setting, you've chipped away 10% of your messaging. If you then use AI to answer really basic FAQs, like the top 20 questions, like what's the Wi-Fi password, where do I park, where do I do my laundry, how does the hot tub work, things like that, that's another 5 to 10%. And your goal is essentially to take that whole guest journey and chip away at the parts that take up the most time. And we also have this really approach over here that we've pioneered and that we really push, which is to surround the guest with technology so that you're not only automating messaging, which is a very naive, trivial, very complicated way to save time and make more money, and turning that problem around and really pushing this idea that by surrounding the guest with technology and by chipping away at these touch points and at these reasons why somebody might have to message you in the first place, you're getting to a situation and you're getting to a reality where a lot of that messaging is just not happening in the first place. So instead of framing the goal of AI as some kind of omniscient, hyper-intelligent being that can manage your property for you and do every piece of guest communication for you and handle reservation changes and things like that, which is impossible, you're using AI in a way that does the things that it's really good at and leverages what it's really good at to save you as much time as possible, both on the front end, like how much messaging is happening in the first place, and on the back end where you're trying to automate that last like 15, 20%, whatever, that the AI can reliably handle. So on the front end, you want to be surrounding your guests with technology. You want to get guidebooks in their hands. You really want them using self-service products that are rich in content, rich in photos, rich in text, rich in videos, so that before they even message you, they have this really thorough knowledge base and content base that they can use to self-serve pretty much any question that they might have that's logistical. When you're in unit, let's say your guests arrive to a property, you want to have QR codes all over the place, on the fridge, on the countertops, on the coffee table, QR codes that link back to those guidebooks or link back to the little articles in those guidebooks. Why? Because a guest would much rather scan a QR code, not have to deal with another person, and self-serve a resolution in milliseconds as opposed to waiting minutes or hours or whatever the case may be for the property manager to respond. And then on the tail end, everything that isn't picked up by the guidebooks, by the smart spaces, the QR codes, whatnot, you've got this body of messaging, which in many cases is going to be pretty logistical. Hey, can we change this room? We got to change these dates. We have an extra person staying with us. Thank you, you're welcome, etc. There's going to be a lot of this messaging that you don't want a machine to touch ever, because if you flub it up, if you get it wrong, even 1% of the time, it's really going to negatively impact the guest experience. So if you tell a guest like, hey, you can bring another person here, but the machine might have read that from from like some kind of old custom field or something like that, or some piece of data, you're shooting yourself in the foot by offering something that you don't want to be offering them. And you're also just letting the machine handle things that you want humans to handle, like anything to do with money, anything to do with reservation changes, dates, things like that. You always want a human handling that, because those are really touchy, really important parts of that communication experience that you don't want to leave up to a machine. But the rest of it, that like 15-20%, or maybe even 25%, that's pleasantries like, thank you so much for visiting us, or this unit was amazing, we loved staying here, hope you guys are doing okay, things like that. Those pleasantries are a perfect use case for AI to handle. And FAQs, so catching all those FAQs that weren't immediately caught by the guidebooks and the smart spaces. So to kind of summarize, the dirty secret is that AI cannot actually do all that much in isolation for your listing. And a chatbot is really not going to hugely change the way that you run a short-term rental business. If it did, short-term rentals would be the first industry on the planet. Let that sink in. If chatbots really changed the way that you ran a short-term rental business, you'd be the first customer on the planet for whom that was truly possible. Every other vertical, every other industry, every other business understands that the best way to reduce human capital is not just to manage messaging, because that's the point in time at which there's already a problem or something that needs to be handled. You want to minimize the situations in which people message you in the first place, maximize the opportunities for folks to self-serve, use AI to handle the pleasantries and the FAQs, and empower the humans to deal with the stuff that they deal with best, which is solving problems, generating revenue. So you want to use your humans to generate revenue. You don't want them answering messages that guests are not going to send in the first place. And you also don't want the AI taking the job of humans that only humans can handle in a tactful and successful way. So that's the dirty secret. Use AI in a smart way. Don't try to fully replace humans with AI. Use tech and AI to reduce the number of messages that you get in the first place and give more time back to your humans so that they can solve problems, that they can make more money for your business, so making sales and upsells and conversions and things like that. It's going to make the guest experience better. It's going to free up your team to deal with things that actually make you more money, and it's going to make the guest the guest experience more memorable, because people love being surrounded by tech. They love being surrounded by smart devices and smart technologies and things like that, and digital products like guidebooks and so on. So, that's my tip. Like, be intelligent about how you use AI, manage expectations around what it can do purely within the context of messaging, and then use all these other technologies to reduce the amount of messaging that you get in the first place.